So while India continued to beat Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe, that's not throwing any surprises to anyone. What everyone is focusing on are the new faces that we get to see in this Indian side. One of them that impressed in the fourth ODI was Mohit Sharma, becoming only the second Indian cricketer to win a Man of the Match award on debut after Sandeep Patil. To talk a little more about Mohit Sharma and what this man really is, I've got a gentleman who's revered to be one of the finest fast bowling coaches in cricket today. Ian Pont joins us on ESPNcricinfo.com for the first time. Welcome, Ian.
Hi, thank you.
Now, Ian, if I can talk to you about Mohit Sharma, and your association with Mohit Sharma goes back to when you were briefly in the domestic circuit in India. Tell us about your first interactions with him and what struck you immediately once you saw Mohit Sharma.
Yeah, I worked with Haryana for a couple of years on a contract basis, and we spent 2 months, one in May 2011 and one in May 2012, up at Corbett National Park, working with all the Haryana bowlers, not just specifically Mohit. And when I first saw him, what struck me about him was his ability to be consistent of action and land the ball in the right places. So, in other words, he offered that consistency that all coaches look for. At that time, we also had a young player called Harshal Patel coming through. But Mohit was someone who seemed to really want to learn a lot quickly, and I spent most of my initial time with him in that first month in 2011 helping him develop his bowling action and work on that. So my first impressions of him were positive, a lively seam and swing bowler, but clearly someone who wanted to learn and ask a lot of questions.
You spoke of how you had to work with Mohit Sharma on his bowling action. Tell us a little more on what he was when you first saw him, the raw piece that he was, and what you specifically worked on in his action for him to become this accurate seam bowler that we see today.
My background is as a pace bowling coach, so I try to coach speed into bowlers rather than coach speed out of bowlers, which is what a lot of coaches try to do. Just focusing on line and length isn't always the answer, because if you've got extra pace in your locker and you can be accurate, then of course you become much more like a Dale Steyn type of bowler. And I think for someone like Mohit, who already had really good control, so you know his action was pretty strong, what we did was we just worked on a few things to simplify his action, uncomplicate some things he was doing, helping with the rhythmical side of his bowling. We spent a lot of time working on bowling drills, you know, key things in his action that he needs to work on, helping him to make sure his front leg locked out straight, making sure his arm delayed so he could increase his stretch when he bowled, pull his arm through faster, finish off his action. Most importantly of all, to continue to move in straight lines. I do see some young Indian bowlers in particular having crazy angled run-ups and feet stepping across themselves. But Mohit really worked hard on making sure everything went towards the target. So that was really the sort of work we did. And of course, things like wrist position and how you swing a cricket ball, I mean, he pretty much had that already. I think what really helped Mohit was going to CSK and working with Andy Bichel. That would be a big positive for him, because Andy Bichel, who I worked with a little bit at Essex when he was our overseas player there, is someone who's quite intelligent, of course, when it comes to bowling these different deliveries. So Mohit would have benefited from that work as well. But technically speaking, he's one of those guys that can really evolve and develop.
Interesting to know your thoughts on how you worked on Mohit Sharma's action specifically. And another thing that we'd like to ask you is, he doesn't seem to be the tallest fast bowler. And while you spoke of how you've been from the school of thought where you try and inject pace into bowlers and not try and educate them out of it, he's still not express pace. What is it that he'll have to do to continue this kind of form at the international level, considering that he's not the tallest and he's not the quickest?
There's a real desire at the moment to find out how tall people are. English cricket has gone down the route of picking particularly tall fast bowlers. But, you know, Shoaib Akhtar wasn't the tallest guy, Dale Steyn isn't the tallest guy, and those bowlers are bowling 150 kilometres plus. So it isn't always about height that creates the speed. There's other factors at play in a bowling action that help you to be a fast bowler. Mohit's around 6 feet tall, maybe just a shade under. He has good pace, 135 maybe to 140. I think that will continue to develop because he's still young. You know, he's not 30 years old. He's not fully developed. But the most important thing for Mohit is that he just retains that consistency. And you know, from what I saw in the Zimbabwe game, he was on the money from the very start, and that was a really good sign.
He has started on the perfect note, has Mohit Sharma. Thank you very much for your time, Ian Pont. It's been a pleasure, and we hope to talk to you soon.